Yeah, I was born in Easton and I moved here from Highland Street about 30 years ago, 35 years ago. Well, I wanted my kids to live somewhere close by, and they said that I'd need an acre of land per house. I couldn't build onto what I've got here unless I did have it. Yet they want to build 28 units on 3-something point acres down there, which is basically all water. If anybody's been here a long time, the whole street floods out, and I don't know how he's going to get away with that. But when I came here, I didn't know what 40B was, but as far as I'm concerned, it's ruining the towns.
The state recognized there was an affordable housing need, and they couldn't come up with a way to address it on every community level of need. They said, we can't predict what the need for housing is in 351 cities and towns, so we are going to pick a surrogate number, which is 10%.
What they're saying, in essence, here's the key: 10% of the housing in a city should be affordable, and 10% of the housing in a farming village in the Berkshires should be affordable housing. They're applying the same parameters for two totally different ways of life, and I don't think it's appropriate.
I think it took a turn for the worst when my successors decided that the state would not continue to invest serious money in affordable housing. Well, the only way you can get it, if the Commonwealth is not prepared to put some resources into it, is by asking developers to cross-subsidize affordable units.
In comes the agent, the dreaded Texas developer, who comes in from out of town and doesn't know how we do things. The law was written for them to take advantage of it.
Which almost inevitably means you get densities and developments which, in many cases, are not consistent with what the town wants to do. Actually give you a piddling number of affordable units, 10 or 15%. What's that? I mean, it's not nothing, but it's practically nothing.
This whole program is outrageous at this point. It was completely destroyed by DHCD with their regulations. They just churn out more regulations every year, and every regulation that they put out is in favor of the developer.
It's the regulations that the cities and towns are scratching their heads over, not the law.
Yeah, it's as if the line's been drawn in the sand and there's a certain level of stubbornness that nobody wants to admit. That if you look at the track record, and the specific number at the moment escapes me, if you average out the number of units built under 40B that are truly affordable and annualize it, it's a very, very small number.
My name is Dan Pilota. I'm a selectman in the town of Hanover. We're currently at 8.4%, and we got to 8.4% by approving a project called North Point about 4 or 5 years ago. That is an over 55 apartment complex, 72 units on 3 acres of land, which is an extremely dense project for the town of Hanover. Hanover embraced this project, worked with the developer to get as many units as possible on this site. The developer, before even completing the project, while he was still working on the second building but had the first building partially occupied, came back and said, this project's not going to work economically, we want to turn it into condominiums. The town of Hanover said no. Ultimately, the state ruled against the town, and the 79-year-old's walking down the corridor in their walker and a kid's riding by her on a skateboard. The court said that the 40B law is to ensure that the projects are financially feasible.